So let's continue with where we were. We have this thing which is count double, which can return a property dependent on count. We access count with this, and we can print if we want, instead of count times count, count plus count, count double. And you see 12, 24, basically. Count, yeah, you get the idea. All right, so cool. We can have this as a playground. You can see, by the way, how amazing the playground is. It also gives some error, kind of error detection here. Unexpected token, expected comma in line 23. Line 23. Oh yeah, sure, because we need to add a comma after the computed option. Yeah. And now let me test something. What happens if we add a style here? Let's make the button have some padding of 0.5 rem. Yeah, it's cool. Oh my god, let's stop playing around because I'll get hung up in this. Let's close this thing. All right, so I love this playground, man. I love this playground. Ladies and gents, we are here. This is amazing. Composition API. With Composition API, we define a component's logic using imported API functions. Imported API functions, that's the important part. That's the key thing. In SFCs, remember, single file components, Composition API is typically used with script setup. The setup attribute is a hint that makes Vue perform compile time transforms that allow us to use Composition API with less boilerplate. For example, import and top-level variables or functions declared in script setup are directly usable in the template. Here is the same component with the exact same template, but using Composition API and script setup instead. I love that this is the first citizen in the docs. Script setup and single file components with the Composition API. I love this thing. So here we have this script setup. Inside we have some stuff. And here we have the template, which is a button. On click, we call this increment method, which shows the count. Now if we look here inside, we import some stuff from Vue, ref and unmounted. We declare some reactive state with this ref, which happens to be a function that takes one value and returns a reactive object actually. And this reactive object, well, and then we have a method which is just function declared inside the script setup. So this kind of looks like a normal script block in HTML, kind of. We import something and then we just declare things inside. There's nothing fancy here. This function increments, it adds 1 to this count, but because this is not a primitive value, it's a reactive object which wraps around our value, which is initially 0. This is the initial value. To change the value, to access the value, we need to do count.value. Again, this count is not a primitive which equals 0. This count is an object which is reactive, which uses some mumbo jumbo magic in behind the scenes that we don't care about now, and wraps around this value. And to access the value, we do count.value. And if we change this value, then Vue is smart enough to know that this has changed and render the correct value here in the template. And then we have an unmounted, which is a lifecycle hook. Unmounted is a function that takes a function as an argument. And this function is run when the component mounts. So the initial count is, again, we access the value with we access this thing, this value of the count with count.value. And then this is the same. So we have this fancy stuff. If we look into the playground, we see it does the same. And we can do more stuff, but we'll see that later on the docs. I wonder if there is a console here that shows, yeah, that's the console, and you can see the initial count is 0. This runs only on mount. It doesn't run when we, I think I will set the console inside the window. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so when we change the count, that doesn't run anymore. We don't have this initial count running again. So this runs only on mount. I mean, you probably know that, so. Anyway, cool stuff. I think this is way easier to think about and understand. And the only magic here is that this count and this function are magically or automatically available in the template. We don't need to like import them and throw them in any way. Vue knows we have this guy here, which is a reactive property, and we can use them inside. So, which to choose? Options API or Composition API? First of all, both API styles are fully capable of covering common use cases. They are different interfaces powered by the exact same underlying system. In fact, the Options API is implemented on top of the Composition API. The fundamental concepts and knowledge about Vue are shared across the two styles. The Options API is centered around the concept of a component instance, this as seen in the example, which typically aligns better with a class-based mental model for users coming from object-oriented programming language backgrounds, which I don't, because I first learned JavaScript, and JavaScript is not class-based. JavaScript doesn't have classes. It has, but they are just syntactic sugar for functions. Anyway, it is also more beginner-friendly by abstracting away the reactivity details and enforcing code organization via option groups. Yeah, that I agree. Maybe the Options API is a bit more beginner-friendly because it's like telling you, look, you have these folders and you have to put these things in these folders. And also you don't have to think about reactivity. Reactivity is like handled for you with the Options API. It's not that it's hard to handle with the Composition API, but you have to be a bit more careful. It's a common mistake, or it used to be a common mistake for me to forget to wrap a reactive variable in the ref function that we have seen before. But you get used to that as you get used to everything. And by getting used, I mean you get used quickly. It's cool. I love the Composition API. The Composition API is centered around declaring reactive state variables directly in a function scope and composing state from multiple functions together to handle complexity. That's probably referring to the composables. We can group logic more easily with the Composition API. We'll see that later eventually. Oh gosh, I think this reading through the docs will take a while. Anyway, I'm having fun. It is more free-form and requires understanding of how reactivity works in Vue to be used effectively. In return, its flexibility enables more powerful patterns for organizing and reusing logic. A bit harder, more flexible. You can learn more about the composition between the two styles, the comparison between the two styles and the potential benefits of Composition API in the Composition API FAQ. If you are new to Vue, here's our general recommendation. For learning purposes, go with the style that looks easier to understand to you. Again, most of the core concepts are shared between the two styles. You can always pick up the other one at a later time. For production use, go with the Options API if you are not using build tools or plan to use Vue primarily in low complexity scenarios. For example, progressive enhancement. Go with the Compositions API plus single file components if you plan to build full applications with Vue. So this is like, I'm not sure, but I would say 95% of cases. But I would also add, it's up to your taste. Whatever you like more, whatever you feel more comfortable and more productive with. You don't have to commit to only one style during the learning phase. The rest of the documentation will provide code samples in both styles where applicable, and you can toggle between them at any time using the API reference switches here at the top of the left sidebar. Still got questions? Well, we'll reach there eventually. Pick your learning path. Different developers have different learning styles. Feel free to pick a learning path that suits your preference. Also, we do recommend going over all content if possible. So, yeah, I think I like the tutorial, but I think, if I was a total beginner and I never heard Vue before, I think I'll start with the tutorial because it's more fun to begin doing stuff as soon as possible. But I'll go with the guide. Let's see the quick start. Okay, that's cool. Depending on your use case and preference, you can use Vue with or without a build step. With build tools, build setup allows us to use Vue single file components. The official Vue build setup is based on Vite, the tool I mentioned before, the super fast, super cool, super nice logo thing that is hot, lightning fast hot module reload. Hot module replacement. Instant server start, like everything is super duper quick with Vite. Um, I'm not I'm not the expert into that, but I've used that, and the developer experience is really amazing. I'm only missing the dark mode here. Anyway, Vite, cool stuff, cool shit. Lightweight, extremely fast, good. Online, you can try Vue with SFCs online on Stack Blitz. Stack Blitz runs the Vue-based build setup directly in the browser. So it is almost identical to the local setup, but doesn't require installing anything in your machine. Okay, Stack Blitz. I'll put it as a note to the site. But that's like, okay, wait, is it running in localhost? Oops. Nope. Okay, yeah, whatever. Sure, we have some project that looks like the old starting project from Vue. Sure, we have this, cool. Local. Prerequisites, familiarity with the command line install node. Sure. To create a build tool enabled Vue project on your machine, run the following command in your command line without the sign. So we go to the console, let's go to the playground and do, I'm missing the copy thing here. Do npm init view latest, project name, view test, package name, nothing, no. Look, TypeScript, JavaScript X support, view router, Pinia. That's very interesting. That Pinia is the default out of the box state management. Vue did a great job on giving a framework which is batteries included with official libraries for routing and for state management. That's one of the things that make Vue so easy to get started and so good. Other frameworks are not like that. In particular, React is not like that, or was not like that when I learned that 3 years ago. Vtests, cool. Vtest is also, it sounds like the same guys from Vite did it. Cypress, like everything, batteries included. And we had cd view test and pm install. Bam, done. pm run dev. pm is the same as npm for the sake of this video, doesn't matter. And we have this running in localhost 3000. There you go. And this looks, look at this, this looks better than what we saw before in the stack blitz thing. And this has documentation, links to tools, VS Code and Volar extension. That's a VS Code extension recommended to use with Vue 3. Component testing, ecosystem, Vue router, Pinia. I never used Pinia. I really want to use Pinia. Tools, Vue DevTools, awesome Vue, Stack Overflow. Look, all cool stuff. All right, so it's and you saw the build time. Like, look at the build time. pm run dev 1 2. Like, it's instant. It's really instant. It's so cool. It doesn't, like, I almost don't have time to count. It doesn't even take 2 seconds to build this thing. This command will install and execute create Vue, the official Vue project scaffolding tool. You will be presented with prompts for a number of optional features such as TypeScript and testing support. We've seen that if you're unsure about an option, simply choose no by hitting enter for now. Once the project is created, follow this. We have seen this thing. You should now have your first Vue project running. And we do have here, well, I mean, it's, yeah, sure, the first Vue project. Yes, here are some additional tips. The recommended IDE setup is Visual Studio Code plus Volar extension. So it could be this Visual Studio Code. Go to the extensions. We are looking for the Volar extension, which is here with a one piece icon even. Cool. I wonder what's the favorite One Piece character from Evan Yu. We should have like a poll in the Vue community to see who is the favorite One Piece character. Okay, so yep, we have this thing. WebStorm, sure. I never used WebStorm, but I think it's very good. More tooling details, including integration with backend frameworks, are discussed in the tooling guide. To learn more about the underlying build tool Vite, check out Vite docs. If you choose to use TypeScript, check out the TypeScript usage guide. When you are ready to ship your app to production, run the following, okay, npm run build it takes like 2 seconds. This will create a production-ready build of your app in the project dist directory. So check out the production deployment guide to learn more about shipping your app to production. This is okay. This is here. Yeah, so it created this index HTML with some scripts, basically this thing from here, and some assets vendor, which is here, and some CSS. Some styles. First we load this the index HTML, which is like whatever. It seems to be mounting the app, so this whole thing seems to be the view basically. Yeah, okay, and then we have the vendor, which is like which is it's a pretty small files, all considered. Yeah, I'm not I don't know what it is. Maybe we'll figure out later. But anyway, it generates something that we can deploy and go live with. Our bundle JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. This will create a production ready. Sure, there are some next steps. This probably leads to Netlify stuff. Next steps. Yeah, no, let's go back. Let's close this thing. Actually, this is closed already. Without build tools. To get started with Vue without a build step, simply copy the following code into an HTML file and open it in your browser. The above example uses the global build of Vue, where all APIs are exposed under the global Vue variable. So we are grabbing Vue, then we use a div with a reaching up message variable, and then we have a script which has view.create app with data which returns the message. So yeah, okay, yeah, I believe that. I'm not gonna try this thing. It's very simple. While the global build works, we will be primarily using ES module syntax throughout the rest of the documentation for consistency. In order to use Vue over native ES modules, use the following HTML instead. There is a script, a div, and then another script. The script is of type import map. It does this thing. Import map? I don't know what it is. I've never seen this thing. MDN import map. Well, it's a map of imports. Import, then we have a key called view, and then an import. It's an import map. Okay, sure. I mean, I get this thing. We have the same here, and then inside here we have a script type module. I see. Okay, so it's using the native ES modules syntax here. Script with type module, which imports this from Vue. I didn't know you could do these things. It's the first time I see this import map. That's very cool. That's very interesting. Okay, so that's basically what we have seen before. Okay, it's very cool. Notice how we can import directly from Vue. In our code, this is made possible by the script type import map block, leveraging a native browser feature called import maps. Didn't know that existed. It's used in Edge, Chrome, Opera, not Safari, but like you shouldn't use Safari honestly. Android browser, Opera, Chrome for Android. Wait, Firefox. Firefox. Come on. Well. Not available in Firefox. Import maps are currently only available in Chromium-based browsers, so we recommend using Chrome or Edge during the learning process. If your preferred browser does not support import maps yet, you can polyfill it with ES module shims. Well, I'm gonna copy it in my notes because it's cool. Okay, so if the browser doesn't support this thing, we can use a shim, which is gonna be like this, and then we can apparently use this thing. Okay, sure. You can add entries for other dependencies to the import map. Just make sure they point to the ES modules version of the library you intend to use. The import map based setup is meant for learning only. If you intend to use Vue without build tools in production, make sure to check out the production deployment guide. Serving over HTTP. As we dive deeper into the guide, we may need to split our code into separate JavaScript files so that they are easier to manage. For example, this HTML file and then JavaScript, myComponent.js. So we have a script type module, which we import our JS file, and then here we put it here in the create tab, and then we mount it. And then myComponent.js is, well, it's just that component abstracted into a separate file. In order for this to work, you need to serve your HTML over the HTTP protocol instead of file protocol. To start a local server, first install Node and then run npx serve. Okay. Npx serve from the command line in the same directory where your HTML file is. You can also use any other HTTP server that can serve static files with correct MIME types. I don't know what a MIME type is. MIME types. Text plain, I guess, is a file type, basically. You might have noticed that the imported components template is inlined as a JavaScript string. This thing, sure. Yeah, there you go. If you're using VS Code, you can install the ES6 string HTML extension and prefix the strings with an HTML command to get syntax highlighting for them. That's very cool. That's very cool. Let's actually try this thing. Let's go here. Let's do make their view 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 local test. Let's go inside. Let's go into the Visual Studio Codes. I'm gonna close this thing and I'm gonna go here. We have to go and have so I'm gonna create a new index.html. I'm gonna paste this thing here, and then I'm gonna create a myComponents.js. If I can somehow copy this thing and copy this thing here like this. So if I try to go and open this with live server, it's gonna break because it won't know what to do. Yeah, there's something saying me, yeah, well, look, I don't know what view is. You are referencing view here, but I don't know what it is. I feel like there's something missing here. Wait. Yeah, we miss this thing, right? Without this thing, we cannot do it. So now we know what view is, but there's nothing here because we don't know what my component is. If I grab this thing, if I grab this guy and comment this out and put this thing here, then still don't see this thing. Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, let's try to run this server. Probably missing something stupid somewhere. Let's do npx serve here. Npx serve is going to install the serve package. And we have something running on localhost now. And this thing is view, something with view. Let's get rid of this for a second, although it shouldn't work then. I mean, yeah, it shouldn't work, of course. Let's add this thing. Let's see, what are we missing here? We have this index HTML, import script type module. We miss, wait. We miss where to mount this, of course. Without that, we don't know what to do. So I put this thing here. We basically needed this thing. We put this thing here. The component we are mounting is this, so we can get rid of the thing inside. Now if we load this thing, there you go. Now this thing is there. If we grab this thing, this whole object, copy it, put it here, this thing is still there. If we run without the server and we try to run this thing with the live server, this thing is there. If we try to use it in the external file, basically get rid of this thing and use my component here and save it and refresh this thing is there somehow. Yeah, well, that's probably because this live server is basically the same as using this server, of course. Yeah, yeah, of course. Look, it's a local server in port 5500. What we want to do is try to load this thing in the opening browser. Hello? In what browser is this thing opening? Open containing folder. And then we put this thing in the browser. Yeah, this thing doesn't work now. Serving this from the file system doesn't work. Yeah, now let's actually check that thing again. Let's copy this object. Let's put it here. Let's ignore this my component for a moment. Let's reload this thing. Oh man, I don't understand this thing. I expected that to work, but I'm messing around with something. So this doesn't run from the local file system, but it runs from the local server. Okay, that makes sense though, right? That makes sense. We can run npx serve, and then we have our server running again, and we can do go here and then do hello, and then we can reload this thing and we see the word hello here, and we can do this thing which is HTML. I don't have the extension installed. Here it said if you want to see this template string color coded with the syntax highlight, you install this extension and then add this thing here. Okay, so let's go here and then go do this, install. Yep. Yep. And why doesn't it enable this thing? Sure. There you go. There you go. It's enabled now. See the magic happening. Do I need spaces? Do I need to not have spaces here? No, it doesn't matter. Okay, cool. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. Now we have this thing running. Okay, cool. So nice. The next steps will continue with the guide creating an application, but for now we're gonna take a break.